Hi, I'm Luke. Today I'm going to run you through everything you need to know about traveling with LiPo batteries, your blasters, your tools, when you go to an event. Let's go. Traveling to large events is an excellent way to meet more Nerfers and really grow the hobby and see more of what other people are doing. Hauling your gear around, however, can be a really big hassle, and I've definitely made some mistakes myself, so I'm hoping today to clear all that up and help you learn from my mistakes. We'll cover both flying and driving, as ultimately you can't fly directly to your Nerf event without getting into a car at some point. Let's start with flying. When you fly, your blasters, tools, and your batteries all have different rules that need to be followed for getting them to your destination safely. The FAA and TSA regulate how these packages and these items are handled in your carry-on luggage and your checked luggage. LiPo batteries and IMR batteries and other 14500 style batteries must all be carried on in your personal luggage that you bring onto the plane. I recommend that these batteries are not fully charged. They should be at storage charge or at least a lower than full charge, though that is not directly regulated. I also recommend the use of a LiPo safe container, such as a fireproof bag or other device. This keeps the batteries separate. It also reduces the likelihood of fire spreading in case there were an issue. Storage charging, while not required, is very important because the higher the charge, the more capacity for fire a battery has. I want to reiterate, do not place the batteries in your checked luggage. Now let's talk about the limits of battery and battery size. TSA and the FAA do regulate how many batteries and what size may be brought on a plane. Luckily, most of these do not apply to our hobby, but I thought I would run you through them just so you have a better understanding. You can bring an unlimited number of batteries that are limited to 100 watt-hours. This is simple math of your voltage, volts, multiplied by your amp-hours. For instance, my largest pack is a 5 amp-hour pack at 12.4 volts when fully charged. 5 times 12.4 is 62 watt-hours. So this pack is enormous, doesn't fit in most Nerf blasters, and it still meets the regulation for no limits on carry-ons. If for some reason you happen to have a battery that's larger than that, you can also carry up to two 101 to 160 watt-hour batteries. But this again doesn't really apply to most Nerf mods because a lot of us are using much smaller packs. While this video is up to date at the time of posting, the rules and regulations are constantly evolving, so I will have links in the description to both TSA and the FAA regulations. That way you can read up yourself and make sure that you're following the most current guidelines. Next, let's talk about blasters. Do not carry your blaster onto a plane. Do not disassemble and try to carry your blaster onto a plane. You will not get it through security and you will not be allowed to bring it. I made the mistake of trying to carry on part of a Hurricane, not even completed, totally disassembled, not even the entire blaster, and even that was refused. And that mistake resulted in a $50 bag fee, plus I had to check a blaster without a box or wrapping of any kind. It was literally just a blaster and half a shell, 3D printed parts with a label tied around one of the tubes. If I hadn't had pre-TSA during that flight, I also would have missed my flight, so really remember, do not carry any blasters onto the plane, and this includes small things. Even a jolt is still not allowed to be brought onto the plane. Again, this is batteries in your carry-on, blasters in your checked bag. As far as packing, I like to wrap my blasters in bubble wrap, with the batteries of course out of them because they're going to be in the carry-on luggage, and then I take that bubble wrap my clothing around it, and then pack it within a suitcase. Hard-sided suitcases are generally preferred because they will be a little easier on your expensive blasters that you've put so much time and energy and love into. However, I do frequently travel with large soft-sided duffel bags, and I will box blasters inside of that duffel bags, just making sure that I'm staying under that 50-pound weight limit for domestic flights. Do check with your airline specifically about weight limits because that's another way you can end up spending a lot more money on a flight and baggage than you would like to. Additionally, remember that sharp tools such as screwdrivers, hobby blades, any of that are generally not allowed in your carry-on, so I would throw those with your blaster in your checked luggage. You don't want to delay your trip in any way, so just be safe, put it in your checked bag, and be done with it. Lastly, when you are flying with blasters and LiPos, you do not need to declare or tell any agent anything about your blasters being in your bag. They will likely be confused if you try to, assuming that you're talking about a firearm or perhaps a paintball container, but toy blasters are not regulated in that way, so check as many as you like. I have gone to events where I have brought 2 entire suitcases, 50 pounds each, packed to the brim with blasters. And they got there without any issues whatsoever. Next, let's talk about driving. Ultimately, once you've flown to your location, you are going to rent a car, get picked up, or something similar, and there are a few things to keep in mind there. The first is that batteries should never be left in a hot car, so I do recommend, again, a LiPo-safe container, such as the LiPo bags that we sell on the site, and I like to keep that accessible so that when I go inside a building for, say, lunch or in for the hotel for the night, I can at least bring that bag with me so it's not left in a hot car. If it's 70 degrees or less out, you're generally fine leaving everything in the car. The temperature inside a car can get about 50% higher than the ambient temperature. So even a 70-degree day can result in over 100-degree temperature inside your vehicle. It's also a good idea to do the same thing with your 3D printed parts. If you have 3D printed hoppers or components of your blasters, or perhaps a Jupiter blaster or a Caliburn and the blaster is completely 3D printed, you're going to want to bring those inside with you anytime that it's hot. This is just a safety precaution. I've sold thousands upon thousands of 3D printed parts and only had a handful of stories where people have done this. It's most common in places like the southern United States, like Texas or Hawaii, where we've frequently got 100+ degree days plus a hot car. That's a recipe for melted parts, and you're going to have a bad day. Finally, when you are traveling, do keep in mind when you're busting out your blasters in a parking lot or at your hotel, make sure that it's a suitable situation and that someone who doesn't know our hobby wouldn't see your blaster thinking it's a firearm and call the police. I hope this video was helpful and informative to those of you traveling soon. I hope to see tons of you out at the future events. Ragnarocktoberfest is coming up very quickly. And hit that like button for me if you don't mind. Until next time, I'm out of darts.